Seahawks, Rams. Seahawks are underdogs at home, George, for another game. The home field advantage isn't as much of a home field advantage as it's been the last few years. How are we feeling?
Well, I tweeted about that. The Seahawks home field advantage is not what it is. And Sammy, the Seahawks are 1-5 in their last 6 games at home. They're underdogs. That's 16.7% for those mathematicians at home. But man, that's not good. 1-5 at Lumen Field. I have a proposition to make, and I will fix our home field advantage. It's been 30 games now, 15-15 in our last 30 games at home have been. That's our record. You got to change the name back to CenturyLink, Quest, do something. Sorry, Lumen. I'm not a customer of Lumen. I don't know what Lumen does exactly, but we got to change the vibes up somehow.
I'm not really worried about the stadium name. I'd rather do jersey vibes. I'd rather do, I don't know, better personnel vibes. One of those.
So you want a whole rebrand?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, well, whatever. The field name's not going to do nothing. I mean, Yankees changed their stadium. They made the World Series again. They built a new stadium. I don't care if the name's different. At the end of the day, Seahawks just need to play better football. Whether it's a stadium thing, whether it's a personnel thing, they just got to play some better football. And we have a big day today. It is George's birthday. So let's cue up some woo. I wish I had a button that did some clapping, some celebration.
There might be on here streaming. Let me see for you, bro. I can find you a button. That's what we're gonna do live on the show. Background, is there background music? We can add music here. Acoustic. Can you hear that?
Yeah, that's awful. I'm pausing that. That's not even close to a birthday.
You could have added birthday music or something.
I could have, but I didn't. That's why I said I wish I had it, but I don't have it. But it is George's birthday, and
Thank you.
Hopefully the Seahawks get a win for your birthday.
You know what? I want someone. I'm going to see here. I want everyone here on the comments. If you're listening, YouTube, Twitter, live. Guess how old I am now. I just want to gauge people's responses there.
Well, it's not live on YouTube, but
no, it's live on Twitter. But people watch on YouTube, they can comment in.
Guess the age and guess the Seahawks score. If you get them right at the end of the week, we'll send you a free gift or something.
I like that. My age and the Seahawks score and Geno Smith passing. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, guess them all right. I think last game I had everyone guessed for $10. Geno Smith passing yards. No one got it right because he didn't have very many passing yards. But it is what it is. Let's get this show rocking. You're listening to the Sports on Tap Seattle podcast. I'm Sammy, and with me, as always, is my older brother, George.
Your favorite place to be a fan of Seattle sports. Now let's get this party.
Little giveaway on the intro, my older brother, George. So let's see what people guess on that one. If somebody knows my age, maybe they can guess yours, but I don't know if anyone knows my age either. So birthday special edition podcast. We are talking some Seahawks Rams. Like we said, underdogs. George, for the first time in a long time, I just feel like even Seahawks fans are really down on the Seahawks, and I don't blame them. We've lost 4 out of 5 games. I think I put up on Twitter today the percentage. ESPN had them at like 51% chance, Rams 49 Seahawks. And most of the comments are saying too high. Seahawks don't have it. O-line's bad. A lot of things are bad. And unfortunately right now, it's true. I mean, like, I'm not even a hater right now. I'm usually Mr. Optimistic, but just things aren't going as well as we thought they were after a 3-0 start.
Yeah, Seahawks fans have turned into Mariner fans. It feels like the pessimism, and I think that's just a combination of a tough couple of years for Seahawks fans and a tough lifetime for Mariner fans, all combining into one combustible moment here where we're just pessimistic fans as Seattle fans. And I actually think we beat the Rams this week. I know it sounds like I'm being Mr. Optimistic, but I don't think the sky is falling as much as other people do. I think there's been a lot of injuries. I think this is a brand new system, new regime. And I think we need to preach patience, which I've talked about on this podcast before. But I just don't think this Rams team is that good. Like, I don't think we should be home underdogs. I think we should be a pick 'em or favorites at home. I think the line is just wrong here, and maybe I'm just being a overly optimistic Seahawk fan, but I really believe that.
Well, the line opened, I think, at -1 Seahawks.
Mhm.
At least on ESPN Bet, because I was just on the ESPN, like making sure it was at home when I saw the line. It said -1 open. Now I think it's 2 or 2.5, depending. There's so many different books, but like somewhere they're underdogs by 2-ish.
Yes.
That is here at the end of the day, pessimistic, optimistic, whatever you are in this current situation. I think being 2-point underdogs is incorrect, like at home, because at the end of the day, yeah, the home field advantage might not be as strong as it once was. The Seahawks have not been playing as good as they once were earlier this season, but I think we've talked about this in some episodes, but there's a big difference between, like, in my opinion, excuses and reasons, right? I think there's been some reasons the Seahawks have been playing worse. And I think
I agree.
having 2 out of your 3 best offensive linemen out for multiple games, trading for a new middle linebacker midseason, injuries. I mean, we've seen Tariq Woolen hurt. We have Kayvon Wallace on the IR. We've had Uchenna Nwasu out. We've had Boye Mafe out. We had Byron Murphy out. We've had DK Metcalf out last game. That really obviously affected the offense. There are reasons sometimes versus excuses on why a team is struggling. I mean, you look at a team like the Houston Texans that had super high expectations, and their record's good, but their offensive line's been awful, and they lost Tank Dell or Nico Collins, earlier in the year, and Stephon Diggs now on the IR. If they begin to struggle, I don't call that an excuse. I'd say that there's a reason they're struggling. They're just not, things aren't going their way when it comes to injuries, when it goes to other things. There's a little bit of a difference between, like, I feel like for the New York Jets, it would definitely be excuses if you try to explain to me why they're not working out well. They tried to bring in Devontae Adams and do all the things that Aaron Rodgers wanted and change coaches. Those aren't excuses. They're just not as good as we thought.
Well, I'm going to say two things, but before we get to that, I want to say for the New York Jets, I just did on my personal YouTube channel a video about them today, and I compared them to the Philadelphia Eagles of a few years back when they called themselves the Dream Team. And for the love of me, I could not remember that cornerback for the Raiders' name.
Mbagwe, Gaku, whatever.
Could not remember his name for the love of God, and I didn't want to like Google it during the show. So if you can provide me with his name, it's been bothering me now that I remembered it.
I was close. It was Nnamdi Asomugha.
There we go. Thank you. Okay.
However you pronounce that. Sorry.
Yeah, I know
It's
off topic, but
Nnamdi Asomugha.
that's a tough name.
Yeah.
It's like Chenek Nwasu.
Uchenna Nwasu. That one's a little easy.
See, I have trouble with that name too. Okay, but here's the thing, and I've been thinking about this a lot today. If the Seahawks, before the season, I told you they're 4-4 through 8 games in the new era of Mike McDonald, wouldn't you be like, yeah, pretty good, right?
Yeah, and it would also depend on what games were those losses. And I think so far, outside of the Giants loss, they're somewhat reasonable losses to the Bills, to the Lions. We're talking about like Super Bowl contenders, to the 49ers. Right. So 4-4 would be a solid start, yes.
Right. And I think we were spoiled by the 3-0 start. If we started off 2-1 or 1-2 and then got to 4-4, we'd be like, all right, the sky's not falling. We're building off, like we're getting better in here. But I think the problem is that 3-0 start spoiled us. We got so excited, like this team, and people were talking about us as dark horse contenders, and the division was us 3-0 and everyone else 1-2, and we're like, okay, look at this, we're gonna win the division this year. I think we're just spoiled by that 3-0 start, man.
I'm gonna go with a yes and no on that, just because like I don't necessarily think the 3-0 start was so definitive and like strong. I mean, let's be realistic for a second. Even after the 3-0 start, there was a lot of complaints about barely sneaking by the Patriots and barely sneaking by, the Broncos. I mean,
Broncos win looks good now.
Yeah, it looks good now, but I mean, it was game 1 of a rookie quarterback's career. I think it was clear even after the 3-0 start that this team's not that great. But I think the in my opinion, what's the right way the collapse, the 4 out of 5 losses was much worse than the like optimism we got from that 3-0 start, because that 3-0 start was like, okay, we're sneaking by wins. But you can see when this team plays at the right level, like they did against the Falcons, that they have a real shot of being a good team. But I actually think they've been underperforming is the real issue here. So there's a little bit of the optimism from being spoiled, right? We were spoiled by that Falcons win, that 3-0 start. But at the same time, I look at it as like when I see a win against the Falcons on the road against a good Falcons team, by the way, I'm more disappointed in how we've played in other games rather than saying like, oh, it is who we are. But that's just football, right? Because it is who we are. I think it's pretty clear. We talked about this last episode. Isn't it maybe pretty clear that the Seahawks team might just be a 9-8 or 8-9 team? And that's what they've been the last 2-3 years. So a new coach isn't just going to magically flip that.
No, we're not going to magically flip it. But I mean, all of a sudden here, let's just say, and it's really hard to do this, right? But we beat the Rams this weekend. All right, we're sitting at 5-4 going into the bye week. Coming off a bye, we go to San Francisco, who I know we've struggled against, but off a bye, maybe we win that. Then we got the Cardinals. Can we win that and the Jets? Like, it's like there is an opportunity here where you're playing 3 straight division opponents where you can really turn your season around.
Yeah, I mean, forget who the teams are for a second. To your point, all that matters is the division's all stuck at 3-4 and 4-4. So I think overall outlook here, not even considering who we play or if it's the 49ers or the Rams or the Cardinals, but I think the overall outlook is, and we talked about this at the end of last episode on Sunday, the division sucks right now in some ways, except for I think the Cardinals are kind of coming to their own. I don't think they suck. I think they're okay. And I think the Seahawks are okay. And I think the Rams are okay. And I think the 49ers are okay. I think the Cardinals might be a little bit better than everyone else right now. Maybe just because Kyler Murray's playing at a good level. They could have beat the Bills week 1. They might be they could be a 5-3 team if they really like snuck up one of those wins. But still, at the end of the day, to your point, all that matters right now in the grand scheme of most divisions, not if you don't have a super team in the division, if you don't have a Chiefs in the division, or right now like a Lions, the main outlook is what's our division record, right? I don't care if we get into if we win the division with 8 wins. I think the biggest thing is right now winning division games is my point. Like that's the only chance we're going to have making a playoff run.
Right. And I think this next 3 weeks is the most, I mean, God, you always say this in sport, the most crucial 3 weeks of our, but it is.
Well, it actually is.
But it actually is, because 3 straight division games sandwiched between a bye week. And that bye week is so important to get healthy and, maybe get some extra work in, get those schemes in. We have a couple new additions. Like that is a time.
It's 4 out of 5 division games too, by the way, because it's the Cardinals the week after the Jets too. So it's not just those 3 weeks. This 5-week stretch, 6 weeks with the bye, our entire division, 4 out of our 8 division games are right there.
Dang, that's pretty solid. Like time to find out who we are. That's either like, hey, we're going to make a run for the playoffs, or let's start looking at what our draft class is going to look like next year. Which, by the way, everyone's going to probably want a quarterback because that's what every fan base wants. But this is a bad quarterback class coming into this draft. I do not foresee a situation where Geno Smith is not our starter next year, unless we go sign someone or we decide to give Sam Howell. But I don't see us drafting a quarterback in the first round if that's the case. But
at the end of the day, I think it's been pretty obvious. Like we talked about this last game. I think Twitter was all over it. The John Schneider tweets, everyone was tweeting about like when he said offensive linemen aren't that important in the draft.
People didn't like that one.
It's time to spend our first round pick on the best possible offensive lineman that we can find.
Or best defensive lineman, because their defensive line is also bad, but
it's not bad when it's healthy. It's been pretty good.
I guess when it's healthy, it just hasn't been healthy. I mean, we're ranked 28th in rushing yards against and 29th in rushing yards per attempt.
Personally, I don't care because we have the personnel. At the end of the day, spending another pick on a defensive lineman. We spent one this year on Byron Murphy, but we still have Uchenna Nwasu on contract and Boye Mafe and Jaron Reed.
I guess it's
and
just
Leonard
it's a
Williams.
health thing.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even finish what defensive linemen we have and what we've drafted and some guys that we're waiting on coming back. Defensive line's not going to be an issue unless they just don't produce. But to just grab another player on the defensive line just to grab a player, and if he doesn't produce, it's still bad, or like it's not working out, I don't think is going to be the solution. I think at the end of the day, when Geno Smith has protection, when we played against a bad defensive line in the Falcons and he was protected, we won a game against a good team. At the end of the day, our offensive line has been a problem since 2016. It's almost been 10 years. We got to go get offensive linemen. It's been fine on the left side. Laken Tomlinson, Charles Cross, Connor Williams. I know he made some mistakes, but he's been okay. We got to get
mistakes
healthy.
Are snapping the ball, I feel like.
Yeah, well, I mean, he made one mistake, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and
well,
like
he
stepped on Geno's toe, but that wasn't like an offensive lineman mistake. That was just like a timing mistake. His mistakes were overplayed last week. They sucked for us, but like he's better center than we've had.
He's a good center.
He's better center than we've had since Max Unger. So it's the best one we've had. Like at the end of the day, we're at year 8 probably of having a bad offensive line. That's what's going to have to get figured out. And we're going to, I think that's what I've noticed this entire year. At the end of the day, we have the personnel everywhere else that could be good enough. But offensive lines where it's going to be, need to be fixed. And we're going to see that again this week. I mean, at the end of the day, the biggest thing we need to figure out is how to protect Geno Smith. And that's what will win us games. The games we've seen Geno Smith play really well and have time. It seems like those are some of the wins on our schedule. The games we've seen him, not get pressure. We can't establish a run game. There's no balance. We lose games. And that's what's going to be big this week against the Rams. Can we protect Geno Smith or not? I mean, at the end of the day,
Aaron Donald's not there. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the freaking Giants put pressure on. I know Giants actually have the sack leader, and Lawrence, I think, is leading in sacks still, right? But like at the end of the day, let's get some protection for Geno and see how it goes. I mean, that's what I'm waiting for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think that's well said. That's the most crucial thing in this entire season is we can't protect our quarterback. We can't protect your quarterback. They say in football, like it sounds so cliche. 2 most important things is getting to the other team's quarterback and protecting your quarterback. And we're not protecting ours. So as long as we
at all.
Yeah, I mean, God, I feel so bad too because I think he's having such a good season. I mean, he's still leading the league in passing yards, or is he now second? I think he's still leading the league, but I know passing yards is kind of an inflated stat. But Geno's not been the problem. Yes, he's made some mistakes and thrown 6 picks now to 8 6 picks to 8 touchdowns,
8 to 7.
But a lot of them are because he's pressured and has to make those throws or coming from behind or having a guy in his face or no blocking. Like if that's the case, like, I mean, Patrick Mahomes throws picks. Like picks are not the end all be all. It's not good to throw interceptions, but shoot, Patrick Mahomes throws picks when he doesn't have time to throw the ball.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes is a good example because he's the best quarterback in the NFL and he's playing nothing like the best quarterback in the NFL right now. He's not even having a good season. He's 16th in passing yards. He has 8 touchdowns and 9 picks, and they're 7-0.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this on one of our podcasts, George. We looked at where they spend their money, right? It's like offensive linemen and defensive linemen are their top paid guys outside of him and Kelsey. Yep. And it's the right guys to pay. When you build it right around your quarterback, even if he's struggling, you win games. Problem is for the Seahawks, Geno Smith has to play perfect or they lose.
Right.
If he plays bad,
that's a good way to put perfection or you lose. Like that's pretty tough. Yeah. That's like it's like the Mariners starting pitchers. You gotta go 7 innings, give up 1 run, and you still might lose the game.
Or 0 runs.
Yeah.
It is weird though, like with Geno Smith, he is first in passing yards, but his stats have been weird to say the least. Like I'll put it up on the screen here. Like if you look at his stats, he's first in passing yards, but like look at everyone else next to him. 21 touchdowns, 14, 10, 17, 15. Like Baker's having a good year. But like 8.
Baker has 21 touchdowns. That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's pretty crazy. And now considering like Man, if they
Who's the
stayed
leader in
healthy,
touchdowns? Is he the leader in touchdowns, or is it
yeah, it's not even
Jordan Love?
close, dude.
Well, click touchdowns because Jordan Love hasn't played enough games for that.
He has 15 touchdowns, 21. He's 4 more than Lamar Jackson.
Wow, that's pretty nuts.
Baker Mayfield's playing like MVP level. It's going to go downhill probably now without Godwin and Mike Evans, but
Yeah.
he was playing like ridiculous level of quarterbacking. 21 touchdowns with what is it? 2,100 yards in 8 games.
Good job, Baker.
And 71% completion percentage, which is probably the third best in football.
Wow, good job.
Yeah, like so he was playing ridiculous. So but those stats sometimes get inflated, like you said. Like Geno's leading the league is 8 touchdowns in 7 games, right? So it's hard. Sometimes it's from trailing from behind, chucking the ball. At the end of the day, he needs to be protected though, and that's what's going to help the Seahawks win or lose. Let's talk about this game though, because this upcoming game, I think you talked about it. Yes, maybe there's going to be a grace of if they lose this, they go out of the bye week and then they win 3 out of 4 games, division games, and it'd be a whole nother story. So I don't want to put the whole season on this game. I think it's more what you were talking about, like the stretch we have. Maybe this 5-6 week stretch we have of Rams, bye week, Cardinals, 49ers, Jets, and then Cardinals again. Like I think that stretch, you're not going to win every game, right? Like I think we talked when we were 3-0, we talked about we're not going to win every game because that's just the reality. No one does. The Chiefs are the only team that's won every game and they're going to lose eventually. But this stretch is what's going to matter. But I think this week we have to go out and make some type of statement to feel good, like going into a bye week, feeling like we have a chance. Because you lose to the Rams, we will be in last place in the division.
Yeah,
last week place, we were in first.
Last place is not good.
Yeah, and we were in first last week.
I know.
Mean, like, well, let's be real for a second. Like, that's really bad to go from first place. Things are looking up to last place in a 2-week span.
Yeah, and that just shows how mediocre we are, unfortunately. But yeah, this game is huge. But don't you think I really have a feeling we win this week?
I feel like the problem is every week I've said the same thing. Because it's just the reality is like I'm having trouble getting a grip on what exactly we are and how it's going to go because it's been so volatile, right? It's been so inconsistent. Regardless, if we have a chance to win, I think it's going to be a shootout. And when I say shootout, I think maybe I get misinterpreted when I say shootout. I don't just mean by points. I mean shootout as in like close game, a big play is going to win it here or there. And that's what's been happening to us week in and week out. Even the wins we had, they were all shootouts at the end. Who's going to make the big play at the end? The win against Atlanta. Who's going to make the big play? Yep. Who's going to pull it off? I don't see the Seahawks team as a team that could blow anybody out right now because it's so inconsistent. There's some missing pieces. I do think regardless, and it's what I've said almost every week, I feel like it's going to come down to a 1-score game. And that's why you see the spreads every week for the Seahawks being in like that 1-4 range, right? Either way. Like, yeah, I think Vegas knows too. Outside of that Lions game, not going to get blown out in the Buffalo Bills game now too. But like usually they're not going to get blown out and they're not going to blow anybody out. The games that it's happened have been to the 2 top 3 or 4 teams in NFL, Buffalo Bills and Detroit Lions. I mean, is there 3 or 4 teams better than those 2 teams? Probably not.
No, I mean, if you go look at the NFC Championship odds, I mean, the 49ers are still second in NFC Championship odds.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, because they know they're going to get McCaffrey back, and that changes their whole entire team.
And they'll probably get better as the year goes on.
Now, one thing I do want to say, and I actually believe this, we have had no home field advantage. 15-15, as we mentioned, in our last 15 games at home, and 1-5 against the spread in our last 6 games at home. This game, I think the fans have heard about it enough this week. Like, it has been a topic. It was on the Pat McAfee show. It's been all over Twitter. I think
Geno Smith said it after the game. Geno said, "Yeah, felt like a road game
at times." He said, but I like how you threw that in. It felt like a road game at times. This week, I think the fans are bringing it. I think the 12th man is offended. I think the 12th man is upset. I think the 12th man is going to bring it better than they have this whole entire season. And I think that's because of everything they've heard. Like, I know players like, oh, I never listen to the media. Fans do. And I think the 12th man is going to be in full force, at least at the beginning of the game.
I don't know. I think I've been reading a lot about where people are complaining about it. A lot of people are complaining about whoever holds season tickets right now. That's the problem, right? Like at the end of the day, and I don't blame anybody. I'm not like really a big like, oh, you should never sell your season tickets. I don't know. If you're gonna make a $500 profit off of one game, like you might do it, right? But at the end of the day, a lot of these rich season ticket holders, I mean, there's a reason the list is like, I think it's like 15 years almost now, or like 12 years. They're not giving up these tickets because they probably can sell it for 3x, right? The tickets are expensive. Seattle's become a transient city, like a lot of people coming from different places. I'm sure there's a lot of, there's a lot of Buffalo Bill fans. There's a lot of LA Ram fans. My biggest concern is these tickets, if they're being sold in the secondary market, they're going to go to the fans that are traveling or want to go watch their team once a year, right? When they're
the good news is with the Rams is it seems like their stadium always is transient fans. I don't think there's like a whole bunch of LA Ram fans traveling to Seattle.
Good news, there's no Rams fans.
Yeah, there is not many Ram fans. If this is the St. Louis Rams and they're traveling to Seattle, maybe. The LA Rams, they don't got that many. I mean, they got fans, but these fans are not
diehards. They really don't have.
They're not diehards. It's plain and simple, like you said. So this is the week the 12th man brings it, and
I'll give you that. If there's a week they do it, it's this week because Rams don't have that serious of a fan base. I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm not trying to stir anything on Twitter, but like they don't have a big fan base.
They don't. I mean, that's what happens when you move a team from St. Louis back to LA. Like maybe there's old LA Ram fans from back in the day, but like
I feel like those people became like Raiders fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like exactly, I don't know, so. Or Cowboys fans.
Like if I was going to rank like the least passionate fan bases in the NFL, I'd probably put the LA Rams fan base as one of the least passionate fan bases.
And LA Chargers.
And LA Chargers. Maybe the San Diego Chargers weren't, but like, no, really, like if you're going to rank they'd probably be dead last.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about like at home, like who has the worst attendance of their own home fans, it might be the Chargers or Raiders right now. But we know the Raiders are a big brand. They just happen to be taken out of Oakland and LA, which is like probably their two core places of fans is LA and Oakland.
Yes,
but they have a way bigger fan base than the Rams. The Chargers is because they left San Diego and they probably don't want to root for an LA team, so they just don't have fans. Like they just don't exist. I would probably put Chargers last because
you see that girl always a crazy Chargers fan.
Yeah, she's probably just some girl that lives in LA that picked the Chargers.
The Rams don't have one of those.
The Rams have definitely double the size of here's the thing. The LA Chargers, I promise you half their fans in San Diego hate the fact that they moved to LA out of all cities and aren't fans anymore. So I would probably go Chargers last and then Rams second to last because Rams fans are St. Louis. They probably don't like them anymore as much because they're like, screw this. It's like a Sonics moving from Seattle to Oklahoma City type of thing. And then the fans in LA are probably were either Rams fans or Raiders fans. So you kind of split it down the middle and they're not that passionate because they were gone from LA for so long. So I would actually put them second to last.
See, so they're not traveling. 12th man is going to be loud today.
I actually believe that. It might not be traveled very well. Now, I want to dive deeper into the game for a couple minutes before we sign off today. Like just really, we've kind of bounced around talking about the game a little bit, not talking about the game a little bit. Let's talk about where you can bet the game, even in Washington State. Fun fact, our sponsor of the show is the Rebet app. You can use promo code ONTAP or the links in our description. You can actually, from your phone in Washington, use this. It's legal. We're not showing you something illegal. It's very legal. You can deposit money using promo code ONTAP, $10 minimum, up to $100. They will match you. So you put $50, they'll give you a $50 free bet, and you can bet player props, spreads, all that. And currently, George, the Seahawks are plus 1.5 on the Rebet app.
Yeah. This is not a joke, folks. You can bet using on your couch, in your bathtub, on the treadmill, anywhere you want in Washington State and 46 other states. If you're watching from a different state, using the Rebet app. And Sammy told you, use promo code ONTAP for the bonus match. But I also want to say it's cool because you can bet on the spread. You can move the spread. You can like change it, get better odds, worse odds. So much fun. And you can make money, real money, cash. Plain and simple.
I was just trying to get you. I kind of said the same thing. So I was trying to get you to the point that it's a 1.5 spread on there and what your thoughts are.
Is it still 1.5 or is it 2.5?
No, it's 1.5 on Rebet right now.
1.5. Okay. So I did say that it's kind of crazy that we are 15-15 in our last 30 games at home and 1-6 against the spread in our last 7 games at home. But I think this is a spot where you got to bet the Seahawks. I think so many people are around the country. Last time, the only concern I have is the last time we saw the Rams was on Thursday Night Football over 10 days ago, once the game kicks off. So they're going to be well rested. It's almost like a mini bye week. That's my only concern for this game is the amount of time the Rams have to rest and get healthier, especially with an older quarterback. But I actually think, as I said, that the 12th man is going to bring it today or on Sunday, and we're going to actually be able to win this game outright. I like the money line as well as the plus 1.5.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you got to give me the Seahawks if I'm getting plus points at home, especially against a team that I think here's the reality, George, of this game to loop this in together. I think right now, if anything, the Rams are probably the same type of team as the Seahawks. They have a good quarterback play. They have pieces. It's been inconsistent. There's been injuries, and they haven't put it all together. Right.
They both lost one of their best defensive players in the history of the franchise, Bobby Wagner and Aaron Donald.
That's also true for different reasons. One retired. But they are both teams that are still kind of trying to figure out their groove right now with different personnel, with how things are going, protecting their quarterback. Rams have the worst offensive line in football. We have like a bottom 5 offensive line in football. There's a lot of issues on both sides where they have good quarterbacks, bad offensive lines, inconsistency. At the end of the day, there's a reason the Rams are 3-4 and the Seahawks are 4-4. I'm looking at us as like a same quality type of team, but you're getting plus points at home for the Seahawks, who are coming off a really embarrassing loss at home. So I feel like when you think about it as like just the reality is, you should probably just take that team at home, getting points against a divisional opponent while they also just got embarrassed at home.
I agree. Should I share some betting insights with everyone watching?
Sure. I mean,
all right.
I was just trying to talk about the game for a second. I was trying
this would make it a little fun. I'm sharing my screen right now. So here are some betting insights that people might care about. As I talked about, the Seahawks are 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games at home. And some player props people would like. Geno Smith has failed to exceed a 35.5 longest pass completion in 4 out of his last 5 games. However, when DK is playing, he usually completes it. I feel like DK gets a lot of long passes.
George, DK gets one like every week. DK stats are like 4 catches, 110 yards and a touchdown with like a 70-yard catch. Every time he's had like a big game, it's always like that. There's just like that one huge pass, and it's like 4 catches, 112 yards, and 1 touchdown.
Kenneth Walker has failed to exceed 14.5 rushing attempts in 4 out of his last 5 games, only averaging 11.6 rushing attempts per game at home. We got to get him the ball more.
I'm not going to respond to you, just like you wouldn't respond to my DK Metcalf.
Well, I was agreeing with you. I said that he always gets one long pass. So, well, we're not favorites anymore, but this would have been nice. Anything you like here that for the game?
I mean, you're just reading. I was saying if DK plays, I like the fact that he gets a big catch every single game. I think it's clear, All
right. This is one I like here. Geno Smith has exceeded 13.5 rushing yards in 4 out of his last 5 games, averaging 28.2 rushing yards a game. I think that's one of the prop bets we should bet on.
Sounds good. I mean, like, I'm just you're reading them. Like, I'm interested in hearing them, but I don't gotta declare which one I'm betting.
No, I'm just saying if there's any of those you think you like. So you like the longest completion because of a DK Metcalf. Is Metcalf going to play though?
He's questionable. I mean, at the end of the day, if he does come back, it's pretty remarkable to come back from an MCL sprain in 2 weeks. But if anyone would do that, is DK Metcalf. So that's something. If he is back, he is a big play type of guy. So at the end of the day, that's something nice. But then we also need to establish the run. I mean, you're looking at those Kenneth Walker numbers. That's an issue for this team. But the offensive line plays that issue. I mean, at the end of the day, we talk about it all the time. When there's a balanced offense, the offense plays better. But when you get, if you're down 14-0, guess what you're going to have to do is just sit there and throw the ball.
Yeah.
So I think, you look at games like against the Bills. Well, what is the offense supposed to do? Be down 14-0, and I mean they should have scored a couple more times in the red zone. But I think at the end of the day, that's what's hard about these running back situations. You look at Kenneth Walker, like, yes, we need to get Kenneth Walker the ball more. We need to establish the run more. When your defense gives up, some early points, or your offense isn't capitalizing like we did last week twice in the red zone, you're going to be down all game. You're going to have to throw the ball. That's just that's what's been tough about this team's inconsistency. And that's why I hope we don't see this week.
I hope so too. And it's not like Ryan Grubb in the offensive game planning. He's like, you know what we're going to do this week? We're not going to get Kenneth Walker established. Obviously, they want to get him established. They want to get that run game going. But like you said, sometimes circumstances don't allow it.
Yeah, and those Seahawks tend to run into those circumstances often, unfortunately. And I think it's just the reality of this team. Like I mentioned, we have a situation where this team's just slightly inconsistent right now. And that's the reality. But that can turn around. It can get worse. It can get better. We don't know where it's going to go. I think we got lucky, George, on the bye week after this week. It's kind of a good mid-season point. See what we can adjust, get people healthy. We'll probably get like Abraham Lucas and George Fant back after the bye week, maybe Uchenna Nwasu. I think he's already at 3 weeks or 4 weeks. It's a good time in the year. I remember last year we had like a week 4 bye week.
Yeah,
just way too early. Yeah, but this is a good time to get people healthy. DK will be back to full health. Maybe Abraham Lucas, maybe George Fant, maybe Uchenna Nwasu, and you can start seeing this team piece things back together. And then we go on 3 out of 4 games, George, from the division. So we'll kind of see where we can go from there. At the end of the day, though, you got to go win this game. It's just got to capitalize early. At the end of the day, you don't know what would have happened in that Bills game if we didn't snap the ball over Geno Smith's head. The first red zone appearance, didn't step on Geno Smith on a 4th and 1 on the goal line, on the 4th and 1 yard line, 4th and goal on the 1. That 2 things, George, the Seahawks could have been up 14-7 last week, for all we know.
Yeah, they could have, but it feels like these type of things happen to the Seattle Seahawks. So it's sometimes you can say it's bad luck or just bad execution.
Yeah, it's both.
Both, yeah.
I mean, there's both. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think Connor Williams is a bad center, but he made both those mistakes. It's just a bad day.
Bad day at the office.
It sure was, but it is what it is. Let's get a win this week. We need it badly. I'm excited. I don't know. I'll be at a wedding on Saturday, driving back Sunday morning from Palm Springs. A wedding of a former Rams associate.
Maybe she has some insight.
Yeah, she thinks the Seahawks suck. That's what she told me the other day. She does work for the NFL now, but she used to work for the Rams in marketing. So let's I'm ready to be talking some crap at the wedding, George.
Yeah, be nice. So it is her and your friend's wedding.
She's probably not going to speak to me about anything football related on her wedding day. So
not a true Ram. See, told you, Ram fans are not passionate.
That's kind of true. She does have a Super Bowl ring, which is kind of cool.
Well earned, well deserved.
Yeah, that was a good one. Well, we'll be back Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on certain situations, and hopefully a win. That's the goal. And George, you got anything else?
No, that's it, man.
Big birthday day. Let's go have some drinks. Let's go hang out.
Let's go enjoy it.
Enjoy Thursday Night Football, y'all. We're going to go have some drinks, enjoy your Halloween, and we'll be back in the next few days, hopefully after a Seahawks W. Much love.
Eat that W.
Okay, Jameis. That's the Jameis move. But then again, hey, no hating on Jameis on this podcast.
Hey, real quick. We put out short a couple weeks ago, and I was like, maybe Jameis Winston next year. I think everyone would be on board for that, right?
I mean, not if we have DK Metcalf or we have Geno Smith under contract.
I love me some Jameis Winston.
I think the Browns are probably going to use Jameis Winston next year, if anybody, because Deshaun Watson will probably not be back week 1, I'm guessing. That could take a year.
They probably don't want him back.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Much love. We'll be back. And George, you know what we like to say.
Thanks for stopping by.
We'll see y'all next time. Peace. You're listening to the Sports on Tap Seattle podcast. I'm Sammy, and with me, as always, is my older brother, George.
Your favorite place to be a fan of Seattle sports. Now let's get this party started.